The results of the test are in, and in the case of Nathaniel Cable Summers, You
claim to be Kitty Pryde, and clearly you aren't Kitty.
You're a catfish.
Kitty fish?
Nice.
Is Gene home?
Coming!
No!
Oh, there's a lot to talk about today, so there's no time for love, Dr. Jones. I'm Robo. This here's the rewind. Let's start things off with something that I finished the last rewind with. At that time, I had only seen the tease for the 4 Horsemen Figura Obscura Gods of Egypt, and I thought, oh, it's something Egyptian, that should be cool. And then I forgot about it until the live stream that I did on Tuesday, and there it was pointed out to me that they are some pretty cool looking action figures. Anubis and Bastet just has that look. You know what I mean? That feel, that groove, that walk like an Egyptian. I can't get it out of my head. And even though I don't collect Mythic Legions or even follow them because there's just so much going on at any given moment, they always seem to catch my eye when I give them a glance. You know what I mean? I look and I was like, dang, that is a nice sculpt, but what impresses me even more is the paint hits. There's a lot going on with these. Just... I hate to bring these up though, because when they went on sale last weekend, sold out. I mean, that's what we're used to with Figura Obscura. But then they announced another drop for today, as I'm recording this on Friday. I'm looking at the sale page and it is still available, but by the time the rewind goes live on YouTube on Saturday, it may be too late. It's worth mentioning that these will probably end up repainted in some kind of retailer appreciation wave or an exclusive on down the road. They gotta, right? I mean, it's just too good to not be reused. And maybe that theoretical release will have less accessories because this thing's packed. I hate to keep rubbing it in case this is sold out by the time you see it and then you think, oh, I want that. But, you know, okay. That's where we are right now. When the boss fight Epic Hacks Red Sonja Black, White, and Red Edition was announced, I thought, oh, is that a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive? Not just because that's where I saw it first, but also because of the color scheme. It matches the BBTS logo. No, this is actually a PX Previews exclusive, so it'll be available in more places than just Big Bad Toy Store. But saying that, that's what I have linked in the description. Otherwise, it's what we saw with the pre-orders for the standard Red Sonja a few months back. There's weapons, there's alternate overlays for the body, there's swappable heads and hair pieces between those heads, and there is a precedent for this paint job. There is a black, white, and red Sonja comic that has a few alternate covers. You guessed it, all in black, white, and red. So there you go. It would have been awesome to have the standard Red Sonja released by now before doing this, but at the same time, it just looks good. You know what I mean? You can just tell this is gonna be a good action figure. Speaking of female figures and red colorways and exclusives, Jada Toys announced that there will be an Ultra Street Fighter 2 Red Chun-Li heading to Target this week. And I do mean this week, because it seems that people are already finding it in store. And of course Target gets a red variation on an action figure. It's just on the nose. It's right on target. Like I mentioned, this seems to have hit some regions, but not mine. I was just there yesterday. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen Street Fighter product at my Target. But it is my Target, right in the heart of Walmart. I know Walmart's not stopping trucks or anything. Hey, you can't bring those Street Fighter figures into here. That's how Walmart talks. Now get on out of here. In fact, Walmart kept Target out of Arkansas for a little while. It was surprising when it finally popped up in my town. You take your pretentious red store and get on out of here. Get! Anyway, hopefully this is fairly easy to get for those looking for it. Unless Walmart has their way. Get on out! Sticking with the theme, at least when it comes to variant action figures with lady bits, here is the LooseCollector / Executive Replicas Hell Witch Blazing Hellfire version. Yes, I had to read that because that's a lot of words. Same deal as the rest so far. It's what we saw with the original release, just tweaked a bit, and in this case, it's translucent orange plastic. And I say it like that because, one, it makes her even more hell witchy, more blazing hellfiery, but there's also just something about some clear plastic on an action figure, right? I think I may like this even better than the first version. Which, again, this is more dynamic, eye-catching. You put this on a shelf and it's gonna be right there. Look at that Hell Witch. For something new from LooseCollector and Executive Replicas, there's also the Frank Frazetta Death Dealer and Steed. First, I really like this. I mean, Dealer has actual metal chainmail, along with some wired cloth, and the armor sculpt just looks awesome with the silver dry brush on top. But I think it's the horse that gets my attention more. Just look at this thing. It is intimidating. I know it's a hand-painted prototype, but that black it's luscious. I mean, ooh, with the slight highlights on it. Like, it draws all light from around it until you get to the eyes and they're all fiery and yeah. Plus there's the size. Here it is beside a Mythic Legion's horse. That's a big old steed. It is a hell of a set, but nitpicking a little bit, Death Dealer does seem a bit scrawny in the torso. I don't know if that was done to counteract the thickness of chainmail and cloth goods, but standing straight forward, it's all limbs. But I say that more to soften the blow of the $350 price tag. I know. That's some sticker shock. You're drawn in by the pictures and then you look up. Now don't get me wrong, I've spent big money on higher priced items before, he says, knowing this is gonna bring some kind of argument and or strong opinions to the forefront because, yes, that's a big price. And I'm not defending it. I'm just saying there's expensive toys out there for those who want them. And that's what this is. I think it's limited, a licensed product from a couple of small companies. It is a lot of plastic when you look at it. But man, that's a big price tag. If you're on the fence, it's up to you to decide which side you're gonna land on, because that's not my job. I'm just here to look at pretty promotional pictures and chew bubble gum, and gum usually gives me a headache, so I do a lot of picture looking. Like, take this newly solicited NECA Hammer Horror of Dracula Count Dracula figure. I'm not big into horror films in general. I just never sat down and watched a lot of them. They weren't big in my household growing up. We were more of a action adventure sci-fi family. Obviously, as you can tell from my own collecting habits. But that doesn't stop me from looking and admiring and appreciating a good-looking Christopher Lee Dracula figure. This makes me want to find out more, because now that I'm an adult, at least physically and kind of mentally, I do want to go back and watch movies like that. There have been some Universal Monsters releases that made me at least go look at clips, see what's going on, make me want to see more of that. And I know this isn't Universal Monsters. Stop typing, stop. I know this is Hammer. It's just, I'm talking about that general time frame. Now, whether I actually do that or not, that's up in the air. But I don't feel like I wasted my time looking at these pictures and now talking about them. I do see a lot of people talking about a Peter Cushing Van Helsing, and that just warms the cockles of my Star Wars loving heart. Oh, one more thing. It does say NECA store, but that's only first to market. It will eventually be at all the normal online retailers. Speaking of famous vampires, here is a factory sample of the Fresh Monkey Fiction / Big Bad Workshop Operation Monster Force Dracula. We've been waiting with bated breath for a while now. Seems like it shouldn't be too much longer. Dracula here is looking pretty sweet with the sickly skin tone and that period suit with just a hint of red on it, but I think what catches my eye the most is the lower jacket. Right here, the flip of the jacket coming up, that means that is some soft plastic down there. That means it's not gonna get in the way of the legs. It's a simple little thing. It's subtle. A lot of people won't notice that. Well, I feel like a lot of people will, because we've all messed with enough action figures at this point to know that you put a long jacket on something, it's gotta be soft. It's gotta get out of the way, because you gotta pose the figure. And then I'm not big on angry, baring teeth mouths, but when it's a vampire, that's almost a prerequisite, right? I mean, it shows the fangs. That's part of the character. But now that I've seen this, I'm reminded that there are a lot of other Monster Force figures up for pre-order, and I want to see more. Give me more. Interesting suits. Hey, work with me here. Interesting suits leads us straight into DC territory and the Kyoto Amazing Yamaguchi Joker 1.5. I think several people in the live stream summed it up to, son of a bitch, I just now got 1.0 and they're doing this? Because this is that. Same figure, some of the same accessories, or I think this includes all the accessories from 1.0, but then adds a few more. And no, it's not the guns that are new. Those were actually included with the first release. They just weren't advertised with the first release. You remember those times. The unique parts to 1.5 is the various blades, the cards, extra hands with peg holes for those new accessories, and then the all-important crowbar. Because you always have to remember the crowbar, especially when it comes to a Joker figure. Everything else is straight up reuse and reissue. They even included a few promo images from 1.0. Here, because it's the same figure. There is a Kyoto store exclusive Joker head where he's surprised or sad or whatever you want to use a frowny Joker for. That's not really my thing. In fact, once again, this is not my thing. I don't know if I need Joker, a crazy guy in suit, to be Revel techie articulated. But if you were on the fence the first time around, maybe this is more incentive for you to get 1.5. And for those of you who got 1.0, sorry. That of course brings us to the McFarlane Toys DC offerings this week. Last week they posted mood shots of the upcoming DC Direct digital wave. This week, pre-orders. So of course, there's more to look at. There's even a surprise. Although there's not too much else to discuss when it comes to Our Worlds at War Superman. I still feel like the shading gimmick on the trunks should have been spread out over the rest of the body, because as is, it just looks like black trunks with a streak of red. But you cannot deny the overall Ed McGuinness-ness. Yeah, I said that right. McGuinness-ness. We also already discussed the Longbow Green Lantern reusing the legs of the Princess Bride Inigo Montoya. And there I said I'm gonna need some vanilla pictures before I make any hard decisions. It doesn't get any more vanilla than this, and I'm still indecisive. The colors are nice. I love the shades of green used here. And then the realistic take is okay. That doesn't turn me off. But I think the head is big and then the limbs are thin. I guess it comes down to still wondering how this will look next to the superhero proportions of other figures in the DC Direct Digital or DC Multiverse line, because it's the same line. Those are big, bulky, and then you have Longbow just standing over there. But then there's the Atom, who is going to fit right into your display if you're into the classic looks. And here's where the surprise happens. Who knew we were going to get a smaller version of the Atom included in this package? I don't think that was announced or teased or anything like that, but I may have missed it. There's a lot going on lately. Either way, very nice. Over in DC Multiverse proper, McFarlane Toys posted promo pictures of their upcoming Dark Knight Tumbler, and I'm impressed. Again, we had seen teases of this, but to see the actual product and the canopy open, it may be slightly toyified for cost and packaging, but it still looks like a hell of a vehicle. I say that because this version of the Batmobile isn't as burned into my brain as 89 or 66, just because of how much longer I've looked at those cars. But this still captures the essence. It's damn close, as far as I can tell from my memory. I didn't go looking at pictures for each little itty bitty detail. Plus 2 seats. And there's pictures floating around from people who already have this in hand, and it comfortably seats 2 Multiverse figures. And then of course Lucius Fox. Who doesn't need a Morgan Freeman action figure in their life? Either get busy playing or get busy buying. Don't worry though, you haven't missed it. This will go up exclusively on the McFarlane Toys store next week, next Friday, May 31st. If you like your Tumbler less Dark Knighty and more military, Amazon's gonna have a camouflage. Amazon's gonna have a camouflage variant up for pre-order that same day, next Friday, May 31st. And it's not just a repaint, it seems to have a different canopy with some more plastic up on top.
Get in, we're going for pizza.
Any excuse, I swear. This picture makes it seem like Bane is included here, but it's not. This version does not come with a figure, so it should be cheaper.
What do you mean I need insurance? Do you think this gives you power? over me?
Oddly enough, that's not the only Tumbler to talk about this week, which is crazy to say out loud. We've known about the McFarlane DC Multiverse one for a little bit now. We've been seeing pictures of the Modoking model kit for even longer than that. The only big difference here is that you have to build this one yourself. And it being a model kit, it's going to have finer details because every part and panel is a separate piece that you put on. I still haven't messed with any Modoking offerings, but I've been tempted by their Bane Batman with the bat signal. I've seen reviews of that and it looks fairly nice. This is a little more involved, and to me, that means more fun. It's going to have parts that sprues just all over the place and you're going to end up with a car. That, and I don't have a Tumbler, and I love model kits. It's going to keep coming back to that. Yeah. But this ain't just the Tumbler, it's also the Bat Pod. And the reason it's included here is because they've included the gimmick of the Bat Pod folding up and becoming the front axle of the Tumbler. Now, I've never thought too much about how a weird-ass motorcycle pops out of the front of a military-looking Batmobile. I've seen the movie many times, but in there it's just kind of... But because of that gimmick here, I first thought that you couldn't display them separate. You gotta have an axle up under the Batmobile, and then you gotta have the tires from the front of the car to go on the motorcycle. But it appears that the Batpod comes with its own set of tires that you take off, fold up, shove up under the Batmobile. So I'm pretty sure it's gotta be able to be displayed separately. It's gotta. All in all, I love the ingenuity involved here. There was a lot of thought put into it. So I feel like I kinda gotta get it because of that. But that's not all. Modoking also showed off an update for their Ben Affleck Batman and Batcycle from The Flash. I haven't seen The Flash, so I'm not familiar with this look. I remember seeing the drawings of this model kit from Modoking a while back, kind of teasing this, but seeing it in grayscale now, all I can think is, god dang, that is over-designed. Kind of like the first Flash suit, which we'll get to. I do see some Affleck in the faces, so that's a positive. But ooh, it's almost like there was just a bunch of kibble glued on. I know it works overall, and it'll look better with color. The bike is okay, but it's just kind of a lump. That's not me speaking on the quality of Modoking model kits, though. That's more me hacking on the design from the movie itself. But I'm inexperienced with this in action, so maybe it looked better in the movie. This also makes about 7 or 8 model kits that they've teased or revealed or shown in different stages of prototyping. So I need more. I need to get the Tumbler in hand, I guess. Or maybe I'll break down and get Bell with the bat signal. But they've also shown some sweet-looking Spider-Mans. This is lower on my want list than some of the other kits they've shown. And you're not going to find a better segue than that. Here is the Medicom MAFEX Flash from Zack Snyder's Justice League. I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that this is the same body as the MAFEX Justice League Flash we already got. This one is 253, the first one was 58, and all they've changed in the title is Zack Snyder's. But you go looking and there are some changes. Putting the promo pics from both releases side by side, it looks like all the details are the same, but the suit is brighter. Then the heads. First glance, I thought the serious masked and the unmasked were the same sculpt with better paint apps, but after doing more comparison, I do think that the new heads are new, along with a smiling masked head. And then they've also included lightning speed effects here. So I guess it is a different version, just the same changes we saw from movie releases. The first release and then the Zack Snyder cut. But I am way more interested in the Medicom MAFEX Marvel Comics X-Men Rogue, and even that has kind of faded slightly, here and there. It's been a roller coaster the more I look. When this was teased last week, I was like, yes, X-Men 97 just ended, we're on a mutant high, I'll take all of them. From anybody. Gimme, gimme. Then when the actual promo pics started trickling out, I was like, okay, yep. After that was some pondering and staring and sitting with the chat during that live stream, and the more I looked, the more I thought, well, maybe I don't need this. I mean, it does look good, but I would like a little more thickness to it. And I'm not talking about what you think I'm talking about, what everybody wants to use as an excuse. I think, especially right here, it's almost twig-like. It's almost, I don't know, there's just something thin about it. It comes down to my own personal preferences, even though I do think this is a pretty sweet looking Jim Lee Rogue, which is exactly what it set out to be. I love this picture, but I hate this picture. The low shoulders, the high head, the parts look like they're floating off the torso. I get what they were going for, but it's not working. But then this works for me, and I swing back to kinda wanting it. I think the jacket does a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to the width of the shoulders. It does add some thickness to her, but it also feels like it pushes things away. Like if you were to take the jacket off, the shoulders would be low, the head would be high. But then again, I'll never take the jacket off this. It's part of the costume. It's meant to be there. You wanna know the deal breaker? The hair. I get it. She is a flying mutant. Action. Yeah, let's make the hair swept to the side. But when the only accessories is the standard MAFEX female face loadout of and a soft goods jacket, and then an alternate ungloved hand, I think they could have found some wiggle room in the budget to include an extra hairpiece that's more neutral. Because it's also just a female form with some paintwork, some seam lines, some glove cuffs, and some boot tops. Remember Gambit's loadout? Didn't he come with a lot more stuff? I'm just saying. I do like the contrast of the matte yellow against the metallic green, and then the brown of the jacket, the pale skin tone, the colors to the hair. That all pops. I just feel like there should have been more. So here I am, right now, still on the fence. Who knows? The future's the future. I haven't pre-ordered this, so I don't know. Because you get a whole lot more plastic for less price with the Hasbro Marvel Legends 85th Anniversary Hulkbuster. I know a lot of people are gonna say this is too high, or it's a bare bones release, and all that. The usual Marvel Legends argument. And that's fine. Hey, that's your prerogative, that's your perspective. But to me, I compare this to the Rogue, and yeah, it's import. It looks great for what it is, but man, if I'm gonna spend that much money, boom! I also get multi-million-dollar company and factories and budgets and smaller company imports, all the logistics, everything else. I get it, but it just comes down to which one am I gonna spend my money on? Shut up. I'm just looking with my collector heart and brain and thinking this seems a better value. It's a big 9-inch chunk of action figure goodness with a swappable Tony Stark head and some hands. And then some removable panels to fit it inside the box, apparently. But the neat thing about that is they detailed the inside of that so that it can be used as a feature, maybe? I picture a wall, a hall of armor, and then the Hulkbuster broke down as much as it can be, and then a Tony Stark figure in front of that welding or working on something. That'd be a hell of a picture. But I also will concede that the Marvel Select Hulkbuster was pretty sweet looking too, and can be had for about $35 on eBay right now. That has a shinier finish and different proportions, but from what I hear, less articulation, and is an inch shorter, which is still 8 inches, nothing to sneeze at. It really comes down to picking your poison, whichever one fits your own personal wants and needs. There's a choice. Make it, and be happy, as we all should be. We're adults collecting action figures. I don't usually talk about reissues for major retail lines, but Hasbro brings me to Star Wars Black Series, which leads me to the final things I want to talk about. So here is Hera, Ahsoka, and Sabine. I'm kind of proud of how all the segues have worked so far. I'm not going to blow that streak. These went up for pre-order this week for everyone who missed them, although I think it was Ahsoka that was a Walmart exclusive, kind of hard to get, so she may be the most wanted here, but that's always hard to tell. Because Hera and Sabine came out nearly 40 years ago. 4 years ago. And I think that was the reissued photo real looks for those. So yeah, it's been a while. Looking at the aftermarket, those are higher in price. So there's those two for those of you who weren't collecting 4 years ago. You know the rule, nab them if you need them, pass if you don't. It ain't hurting nobody. What? Star Wars? reissues? Of course that's going to bring us to the Bandai SH Figuarts Star Wars A New Hope reissue of Darth Vader, Stormtrooper, C-3PO, and R2-D2. We got initial images of these a few weeks back where we speculated the tweaks that may happen with these, and for the most part we were right. C-3PO is exactly like the last release. Alternate faceplate with the dent, comlink, just in a way shinier finish. Like we guessed, this is from the medal ceremony at the end of the movie, because they did this picture. There's no denying that putting a clean C-3PO next to a clean R2-D2 means end of A New Hope. With R2, again, same figure, same features. They did keep that clicky dome thing that changes the color of the lights on the front and back. That is awesome. During my rundown of those initial reveals, I forgot about the opening panels where the tools pop out. I really like that because it stores away. Okay, the Black Series with the tools that go up inside the dome, that is very, very neat and gives you more options. But this, you have the figure, you have the clickies, you what is it? You flash, and whoop, things pop out. Oh, let's stop. The only difference is
Bright white,
and hey, I didn't even have to say it. They list it as
bright white.
The neat thing here is it could have easily looked like an unfinished figure, like a model kit, but this looks like a super clean astromech. I still believe that this Darth Vader is the Obi-Wan Kenobi series Darth Vader, just with the robes over the shoulder armor. The bulkiness of the cape gives it away because it matches the bulkiness of the cape of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series Darth Vader after you open it. Not the original promo images of that figure that showed the cloth laying more natural. That was a bait and switch. For some reason I find the Stormtrooper the most tempting. One, it's a Stormtrooper. It's an army builder. I can have as many as I damn well please. Two, the last Stormtrooper that this figure is reuse of, fantastic. So yes, I will take more. Three, I forgot that release came with 3 different blasters. So when I saw it with this one, I thought, change it up even more, that's awesome. And then I went back and looked at the promo images of that Stormtrooper, and yes, I've got those weapons somewhere. But I can always take more. 4, it's not just the green lenses that we all zeroed in on. The E11 now has a matte finish to better match the movie, and then they are saying the armor has a bluish white color to it for the highest degree of accuracy. And they say that exact phrase, highest degree of accuracy. It's always been weird lining up different stormtroopers from different companies and seeing the slight differences in tones to the armor, some grayish, some yellowish. Now we have bluish? I will have to get one of these, stand it up next to the rest of them and see what happens. Pre-orders open June 3rd, so you have about a week to make those hard decisions. Finally, there is the JNB Spiritual Leader, or the not Star Wars, not Mandalorian, not Luke Skywalker, in more ways than one. Several companies have attempted this look with varying degrees of success. The problem is it skews heavily into the Return of the Jedi look, and some companies take that as a, well, we can just reuse what we got. Nope. Well, I will say the boots, the pants, and the belt are very, very similar. But then the upper torso, the tunic, the undershirt, and the sleeves are more prequel Jedi. There's more layers to it, and length. And that's the thing everyone is missing. The length of the lower tunic. It needs to be closer to the knees, or at least halfway. Before this, MAFEX was the closest. And now, I think this gets slightly closer, but then they had to go and make that tunic just super gray. They may have been trying to match this behind the scenes shot, but it also may be one of those plausible deniability decisions where, oh no, that's not Luke, he's wearing a gray tunic. That can't be Luke. What draws me in here the most is the cloak. I think this is the best cape and hood combination that we've seen from any company. Especially this shot, it looks like it was pulled right out of the show. The likeness is also very good, considering the character it's meant to be. We all know how difficult it is to translate Mark Hamill into 1/12 scale. We've seen a lot of figures look close, but not really any cigars. And I'm not saying this is perfect, but Luke in that episode also had that, off look. Then the crunched up Dark Trooper is, oh, that's pretty sweet. But why is there a holographic garden gnome? Where did the blaster come from? Why is not Luke so angry on this alternate head? Thanks to Corey over at Casting Cave, it seems they based some of this off the Hot Toys Return of the Jedi Luke. We see that a bit with Third Party, where they take a larger scale figure and then just shrink it down, release a smaller scale figure. It may not be exact, but it is heavily inspired. All in all, it's a great looking figure with some slight shortcomings. Not any more than any of the other Mando Lukes we've gotten. Do I want to spend the money here and then dye the tunic, or get a third party for a third party and have a longer robe on it? Then I can take the angry head and put it on one of my mini Return of the Jedi Lukes. Yeah. Oh, and again, scrunchy robot remains. Guess what I'm about to do? And that's all there is this week. That's rough to say because I've been at this for an hour and a half. It's beginning to feel a lot like summer. San Diego Comic-Con. Things are ramping up, and it'll be 2 months of just hitting us hard with the pre-orders, with the reveals, with stuff to show at the big show. Doesn't look like it's going to slow down, so buckle up. As always, special thanks to the Patreon. I think we've landed on Nobots with a K-N-O-W, obviously, but it's going to warrant some further discussion. I'm going to take some of the suggestions that we had in the thread this week and put those up, and then we'll go from there. Because me just picking the one that's that one looks good, no, it's up to y'all. But thinking about Rogue more, I did pull out some reference pictures, and I think Jim Lee always drew her headband as being curved up. You know, more of a hairband. Not that kind of hairband. Yeah! A hairband to actually hold the hair back. A lot of artists after that, and a lot of figures since then, have just shown it straight. And for some reason, that changes her whole demeanor, like it makes her more angry. I guess it's the Rambo effect? Straight across on the forehead means it's keeping sweat off during exerting times or stress. Then with the hairband, it makes the face more rounder and more nurturing, more motherly. I know these are just very broad generalizations, but making it straight makes it more aggressive, which I guess when you think of Rogue and her power set is very hands-on. Is that one of the big differences I'm seeing? Is that something subtle that I've never thought about much before until now, till I gathered up a bunch of pictures and, oh, there's this and this and this. It's almost subliminal because we've seen figures and went, there's something off about that, but I can't quite put my finger on it. But now that I'm going back and looking at some of the figures, it's that. It's when skin is shown above the band, when it's not all the way up to her hairline. That's an awful lot of hair pondering from a guy who ain't got a lot of it. Anyway, there's deep thoughts about one small accessory on a comic book character from 30 years ago. Bah.